another one. But in this video, in this video, first I'm going to tell you three chapters: chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, and it's called chapter 4. Miss Daisy is crazy. Chapter 5, the most genius idea. Chapter 6, what do you want to be? And let's find out. Now let's watch the video. Chapter 4. Miss Daisy is crazy. In the lunchroom, I opened my lunchbox and I saw that my mom had packed me a peanut butter jelly sandwich. I traded with Michael Robinson for his potato chips. Everybody was talking about Miss Daisy. Miss Daisy is crazy, Ryan said. She's the weirdest teacher I ever had, said Emily. She can't read, she can't write, she can't even do arithmetic. What kind of teacher is that? A bad one, I said. Hey, I just thought of something. Michael Robinson was able to say, even though his mouth was filled with peanut butter. Do you think that maybe Miss Daisy isn't really a teacher at all? What do you mean? Ryan asked. Maybe she's an imposter, said Andrea. An imposter? What's that? I asked. Somebody who imposts? No, silly. An imposter is somebody who pretends to be someone else. Somebody else. Andrea explained. She might be a fake teacher. Maybe Miss Daisy is really a jewel thief or a bank robber. I guessed maybe she snuck into the school and is hiding so the police won't catch her. I think you're the one who's crazy. Andrea giggled, choking on her milk. But what if Miss Daisy was a bank robber, or she could be a horse thief, or a cattle rustler, or somebody who parks where there is a yellow line on the curb. My head was starting to fill with all kinds of awful things. Miss Daisy could be maybe Miss Daisy kidnapped a real teacher and is holding her for a ransom, I suggested. Wow, you think so? Emily asked. Wow, you think so? Emily asked, looking all scared. What's a ransom? Asked Ryan. My mom tells me I'm handsome. Michael Robinson claimed. Not handsome, ransom, said Andrea. I don't know what that is. It is, but whenever somebody is kidnapped, they get help for it. In cartoons, people who get kidnapped are always tied up to two railroad tracks. I reminded everybody, maybe our real teacher is tied up to some railroad tracks right now. We've got to save her! We got to save her, said Emily, and she went running out of the lunchroom. Wait a minute, said Michael Robinson. That doesn't make sense. If Miss Daisy can't even read or do arithmetic, how is she going to be able to kidnap a teacher and tie her to railroad tracks? She doesn't look like a kidnapper to me, Ryan said. We should tell Principal Clutch, said Andrea. He'll know what to do. No! No! I shouted. Don't you see how good we have it? If we tell Principal Clutch how dumb Miss Daisy is, he will fire her and replace her with a real teacher who knows reading and writing and arithmetic. We'll have to learn all that stuff. You don't want that, do you? No way, said Michael Robinson. I don't care if she's an imposter or a bank robber or a kidnapper. I said, I like her. I say we keep her. Me too, Michael Robinson agreed. I think she's cool. Okay, let's not tell anybody, I said. It will be our little secret. We all agreed. Our lips would be sealed, but not sealed with glue or anything. That would be gross. Ew. Chapter 5. The Most Genius Idea. Page 33. After lunch, we have recess, which means we get to go out in the playground and run around. Miss Daisy said we needed to burn off energy. Now this is more like my style. I announced when we got outside. I made a beeline for the monkey bars. Then me and some other kids hit the swings. After that, all the boys had a contest to see who could spin around in circles the longest without throwing up. Michael Robinson won. Then we all sat down on the grass. We even though Miss Daisy was pretty cool, we all agreed that we hated school. We made a promise to one another that we would hate school forever. Even if we changed minds, decided we like school. That's when Ryan came up with the most genius idea in the history of the world. This was the idea. His idea. We should buy the school. Ryan told us that his father worked for the big company, and that once his father's company bought some other company, just like you would go into a store and buy a candy bar, Ryan said. It happened all the time. All the time, he said. He didn't see any reason why we couldn't buy the school just like that. If we bought the school, what would we do with it? Michael Robinson asked. We could do anything we want with it. We'd own it. Could we turn it into a video game? Arcade, I asked. Sure, why not? Instead of teaching reading and writing in an arithmetic, we could teach kids how to play video games. And we could ride skateboards in the hallways? Asked Michael Robinson. Sure, we could, Ryan said. If we owned it. I got all excited because if there's one thing that I like to do almost as much as playing football, is playing video games. Oh, and riding skateboards. I started emptying out my pockets. I had a nickel, 3 pennies, and a lifesaver. The other boys emptied their pockets too. We separated all the pennies, nickels, and dimes into a little pile. Then we added up all the money we had. All the money. We had $1.32. What cents? Wow! Wow! Michael Robinson said. That's a lot of money. I don't think it's enough to buy a school, said Ryan, who knew a thing or two about financial matters because his father worked for the big company. Well, how much do we need? Well, how much do you need to buy a school? I asked. Beats me, said Ryan. We'd better ask Miss Daisy. We all rushed inside after recess and asked Miss Daisy how much it would cost to buy the school. Gee, I don't know, said Miss Daisy, who didn't seem to know much of anything. Why do you want to buy the school? We wanted to turn it into a video game arcade, I told her. What a great idea, she beamed. I love video games. There are so many schools and a few video game arcades. It makes perfect sense to turn some of those schools into video game arcades. I'll arrange a meeting with Mr. Klutz tomorrow, so we can ask him if we can buy the school. But right now we have to go to Mrs. Cooney's office. Mrs. Cooney's office is down the hall from our class. She says she's a school nurse. But personally, I think she's a spy. I'll tell you why. There's a big poster on her wall that says EYWXLEOPLSJRMQMWJRGA. I tried to read it, but it didn't make any sense at all. Even Andrew Young didn't know how to read the poster. And she knows everything. I think Mrs. Cooney has created a secret code and she's using the poster to send messages, mystery spy messages. I have to keep an eye on her. When we walked into Mrs. Cooney's office, she had us all lined up in size order. I was one of the shortest kids, so I had to stand in the front of the line. Then Miss Daisy and then Mrs. Cooney told us to take off our shoes. At first, I thought she didn't want us to track mud all over her office. But then she told us that she was going to weigh and measure us. Obviously, she's trying to gather information about us because that's what spies do. My friend Billy says that the heavier you are, the smarter you are, because heavier people have bigger brains. But I think Billy just says that because he is overweight. I weighed 52 pounds. Mrs. Cooney showed us this awesome ruler she has. It is made of metal and stretches out 6 feet long. When she presses a button, the whole thing shuts into her hand and disappears like magic. That is cool. I bet she has lots of other spice tools too. She wouldn't let us play with her magic ruler, but Mrs. Cooney ran around measuring everything. She showed us that the bench where we were sitting on was 17 inches high. The door to her office was 30 inches across, and her foot was 12 inches long. Hey, my foot is a foot! Hey, my foot is a foot! Mrs. Cooney exclaimed. Weren't all feet? Aren't all feet? I asked. Some feet are less than a foot, and some feet are more than a foot. She replied, but my foot is exactly a foot. I had no idea what she was talking about. Mrs. Cooney wrapped the measuring tape around her forehead, around her forehead, and announced, "Look, my head is almost 2 feet in circumference." I knew that circumference was the distance all the way around a circle, and the diameter was the distance through the middle of a circle. What's the diameter of your head, Mrs. Cooney? I asked. Everybody laughed, even though I didn't even say anything funny. That would be hard to measure, but isn't measuring things fun? Mrs. Cooney asked. I wonder how much the scale weighs. Mrs. Cooney started to measure and weigh more things, but Miss Daisy said we had to go back to class. Chapter 6. What do you want to be? Page 45. At the end of the day, Miss Daisy sat on the floor and we all sat around her. She told us to talk about what we wanted to be when we grew up. I want to be a veterinarian, said Andrea Young. Does anyone know what that word veterinarian means? Asked Miss Daisy. That's somebody who doesn't eat meat, said Michael Robinson. It's not, I said. That's a vegetarian. A veterinarian is somebody who fought in the war. That's a veteran, Miss Daisy said. Andrea, would you like to tell the class what a veterinarian does? A veterinarian is an animal doctor. That Andrea Young thinks she knows everything, but for once she knew what I knew she was wrong. Animals can't be doctors, I said. Everybody laughed, even though I didn't say anything funny. Miss Daisy said a veterinarian is a doctor who takes care of animals. That made a lot more sense than that dumb thing Andrea said. Emily was next. She said that she was wanted to grow up and become a nurse in a hospital. Why do you want to do that? I asked. People come into hospitals all sick, injured, their arms falling off, their guts hanging out. AJ, Miss Daisy said in her serious voice. Emily got all upset and ran out of the room crying. What did I say? I asked. What do you want to be when you grow up, AJ? Miss Daisy said. I'm going to be a famous football player, I said. Really? And why do you choose that field? Because I love football, I said. And if I was a football player, I wouldn't have to read or write or do arithmetic or go to school. My friend Billy told me that football players are really dumb. Your friend told you that? Miss Daisy said Miss Daisy. Yeah, Billy's really smart. He also told me that if you dig a hole deep enough, you can dig all the way to China. And if you fall into that hole, you'd fall all the way through the earth, and pop right out the other side. And you'd be moving so fast that you'd shoot all the way into the outer space. Michael Robinson said that it sounded cool. He decided that instead of becoming a firefighter, he wanted to become one of those hole-digging astronauts. Emily came back into the room with a tissue. Everybody else went around in circles saying what they wanted to be. This girl named Lindsay said she wanted to be a singer. Ryan said that he wanted to be a businessman like his dad. Andrea Young said that if she couldn't be a veterinarian, she wanted to be a teacher like Miss Daisy. Then she gave Miss Daisy a big smile. I hate her. If you like the video, please just like and subscribe. Bye! And like and subscribe.